The Silent Shield. The Varexi Imperium had conquered 17 systems before they encountered humanity. Their strategy was always the same: overwhelming force, superior firepower, and a relentless assault that crushed all resistance. In the vast cosmic order they had established, military might determine a species' place in the hierarchy. Those who fought well but lost became vassals. Those who surrendered became slaves. Those who fled were hunted to extinction. Earth had been monitoring their approach for decades. Long-range sensors detected the unmistakable energy signatures of Varexi warships as they systematically expanded their territory. Humanity had time to prepare, but not in the way the Varexi might have expected. "They've entered the outer system," Admiral Lieutenant Commander Sado reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. 17 capital ships, 43 destroyers, and what appears to be a planetary siege vessel. Admiral Helena Frost nodded silently, studying the holographic display. The Joint Defense Command Center, buried 2 kilometers beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. She turned to face the assembled leaders of Earth's unified defense forces. "Ladies and gentlemen, Operation Aegis is now active. May our shields hold strong." Throughout the Sol system, a network of seemingly ordinary satellites and stations began to awaken. There were no massive battleships in Earth's fleet, no planet-destroying weapons or swarms of fighter craft. Instead, humanity had invested everything into one strategy: the perfect defense. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the observation deck of Defense Station Aegis Prime, watching as the final calibrations were completed on the quantum shield generators. Unlike conventional energy shields that blocked or deflected incoming attacks, the quantum shields operated on an entirely different principle. They existed partially out of phase with normal spacetime, allowing them to absorb, redirect, and even convert hostile energy. "Status report," she called to her engineering team. Chief Engineer Diego Reyes looked up from his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. The shield matrix is synchronized across all nodes, energy capacity at 98.7%, and rising. We're ready." Chen nodded, her expression grim but determined. "Let's hope it's enough." The first Varexi scout ships appeared at the edge of Earth's defense perimeter 48 hours later. They were sleek, predatory vessels, designed for speed and devastating first strikes. According to intelligence gathered from the few surviving species who had encountered the Varexi, these scouts were sent to assess enemy capabilities and test defenses. When the scouts opened fire, targeting a communications relay near Jupiter, the quantum shields responded. There was no dramatic explosion, no visible energy discharge. The Varexi weapons, a combination of advanced plasma torpedoes and graviton beams, simply seemed to disappear as they approached their target. Aboard the Varexi scout ship Bloodthirst, Commander Thrax stared at his tactical display in confusion. "Reacquire target and fire again," he ordered. "Maximum yield." The second volley vanished, just like the first. Thrax ordered a third attack, then a fourth. Each time, the human defenses absorbed the incoming fire without apparent damage. "Impossible," Thrax muttered. In his 15 cycles of military service, he had never encountered a defense system that could completely neutralize Varexi weaponry. When the first major assault came 3 days later, humanity was ready. The Varexi deployed their standard opening strategy: a massive barrage of firepower designed to overwhelm defenses and create panic. What they didn't understand was that Earth's quantum shield network actually became stronger with each attack. "They're feeding us," Admiral Frost observed, watching as the energy reserves of the shield network began to climb. "Every shot they fire is being converted and stored." The Varexi flagship, a massive vessel called the Subjugator, positioned itself above Earth's North Pole and began charging its main weapon, a gravimetric cannon capable of destabilizing a planet's core. This was their ultimate threat, used to force immediate surrender. When the weapon fired, The quantum shields not only absorbed the tremendous energy, but channeled it through the global network, strengthening every defensive position in the system. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Verexi faced an opponent that they couldn't hurt. Fleet Admiral Gorvan Vrex, Supreme Commander of the Verexi Expeditionary Force, was not accustomed to failure. Standing on the command bridge of the subjugator, he watched in disbelief as his most powerful weapon had no effect on the human homeworld. "Explain," he demanded of his science officer. The human defenses appeared to be using some form of quantum state manipulation, the officer replied, his voice trembling slightly. "They're not just blocking our attacks, they're somehow converting the energy for their own use." Vrex narrowed his four eyes. "Impossible. No species has ever developed such technology. The evidence suggests otherwise, Admiral." Vrex turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to the Imperium. Request reinforcements, and prepare a ground assault. Let's see if these humans can shield every square meter of their world." Back on Earth, the Defense Council was meeting to assess the situation. The quantum shield network was performing beyond expectations, but they knew the Verexi wouldn't give up easily. "They'll try a ground invasion next," General Oluwaseun Adeyemi predicted. "Our orbital defenses won't stop them from landing troops." Admiral Frost nodded. "We've anticipated this. The personal shield generators are ready for deployment to all major population centers." The personal shields were miniaturized versions of the orbital network, designed to protect individual humans or small groups. Unlike the massive energy requirements of the orbital system, these shields drew power from the very attacks directed against them. The harder the hit, the stronger they became. When the Verexi landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere 3 days later, they encountered no resistance. This confused the invasion commanders, who expected at least some attempt to shoot down their ships. "It's a trap," muttered Commander Krax as his assault ship touched down outside the human city of Sydney. "They're leading us in." He wasn't wrong, but the nature of the trap was unlike anything the Verexi had encountered. As their troops advanced into the city, they found it eerily quiet. Then, as they opened fire on the first buildings, human defenders appeared, ordinary citizens, police officers, and a small number of military personnel, all equipped with personal shield generators. The Verexi weapons fire struck the shields and simply vanished. Return fire from human weapons, by contrast, passed through the one-way quantum barriers with ease. The invasion force suffered devastating casualties in the first hour alone. Similar scenes played out across the globe. The Verexi, accustomed to breaking enemy morale with overwhelming force, found themselves in a situation where their greatest strength was rendered useless. Their attacks not only failed to harm their targets but actually made the human defenses stronger. Captain Chen watched from Aegis Prime as the Verexi began a hasty retreat from Earth's surface. "They're pulling back," she reported to Admiral Frost. "All landing craft are returning to their ships." "And the orbital network?" "Still at full capacity, Admiral. In fact, we're now at 127% of design capacity thanks to all the energy they've fed us." Frost allowed herself a small smile. "They'll try something else. They always do. But for now, we've won the first round." The Verexi fleet regrouped at the edge of the system, licking their wounds and reassessing their strategy. For Fleet Admiral Vrex, this was an unprecedented situation. Never in the history of the Imperium had an initial assault failed so completely. "Their entire strategy is defensive," he mused, studying the reports from the failed invasion. "No counterattacks, no offensive capabilities at all. Just these shields." His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Kreen, looked troubled. "It violates everything we understand about warfare, Admiral. Defense without offense is suicide. Unless..." "Unless what?" Vrex demanded. "Unless they have no need for offense," Kreen said slowly. "If their defenses are truly impenetrable, they need only wait for us to exhaust ourselves against them." Vrex considered this. "No defense is impenetrable. We will find a way through. Contact the Imperium. I want our entire Third Fleet here within the week. And summon our allies. It's time to show these humans the true meaning of overwhelming force. As the Verexi prepared for their next assault, humanity continued to strengthen its defenses. The quantum shield network expanded, with new nodes being deployed throughout the system. Research teams worked around the clock to refine the technology further, finding ways to make the shields even more efficient at energy conversion. Captain Chen stood at the viewport of Aegis Prime, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Verexi were gathering their forces for another attack. But for the first time since humanity had learned of their existence, she felt a glimmer of hope. The Verexi understood violence, conquest, and domination. They had never encountered a species that could simply say no and make it stick. Humanity had chosen a different path, not to outfight the aggressors, but to outlast them. In the quiet of her quarters that night, Admiral Frost recorded a message for Earth's unified government. The Verexi will return, stronger than before. But our strategy remains sound. We have shown that the best defense is not always a stronger offense. Sometimes, the best defense is an impenetrable defense. The unbreakable wall. 3 months after their initial defeat, the Verexi returned to the Sol system with a force that dwarfed their previous fleet. The sensors on Aegis Prime detected them as they emerged from faster-than-light travel, over 200 capital ships, nearly 1,000 smaller vessels, and an enormous command carrier that outmassed anything humanity had ever seen. They'd brought friends, Captain Chen observed grimly, studying the tactical display. The new arrivals weren't just Verexi ships. There were vessels of different designs. The Verexi had called upon their vassal species to join the assault. Admiral Frost studied the incoming fleet with a practiced eye. They've adapted their strategy. Look at the formation. They're planning to attack from multiple vectors simultaneously, trying to overwhelm our network. The quantum shield network had been expanded significantly since the first Verexi attack. New nodes had been constructed throughout the system, creating a more resilient and efficient defensive grid. But even with these improvements, the sheer scale of the approaching force was concerning. All stations, this is Admiral Frost. Initiate Aegis Protocol Theta. Prepare for maximum energy absorption. Across the system, shield generators powered up to their highest settings. Unlike conventional shields that would overload and fail under sustained assault, the quantum barriers were designed to grow stronger as they absorbed more energy. The question was whether they could handle the unprecedented amount of firepower about to be directed at them. The first wave of the attack came from a group of fast-moving destroyers. They launched what appeared to be conventional missiles, but as the weapons approached Earth's defensive perimeter, they suddenly split apart into thousands of smaller projectiles. "They're trying to saturate the shields," Lieutenant Commander Sato reported. "Force us to defend too many points at once." The quantum shields flickered as they adjusted to the new threat, redirecting energy where it was needed most. The defensive network held, but the strain was visible in the power fluctuations rippling through the system. On the bridge of the Verexi command carrier Inevitable Victory, Fleet Admiral Vrex watched with satisfaction. See how their shields fluctuate. They cannot maintain full coverage against a dispersed attack. His new science officer, a member of the vassal species Thelikos known for their analytical abilities, was less convinced. "The shields are adapting, Admiral. Each wave of our attacks seems to be teaching their defensive systems how to respond more efficiently. Then we must overwhelm them before they can fully adapt." Vrex decided. Launch the gravity bombs. The gravity bombs were a new weapon, developed specifically to counter Earth's quantum shields. Instead of delivering energy that could be absorbed and redirected, they created localized distortions in space-time itself, areas where the laws of physics temporarily broke down. When the first bomb detonated near one of Earth's orbital shield generators, the effect was immediate and alarming. The quantum field wavered and then partially collapsed, creating a momentary gap in the defensive network. Alarms blared throughout Aegis Prime. "Shield failure in Sector 12, reported the tactical officer. The generator is offline. Captain Chen acted quickly. Reroute power from adjacent sectors. Fill that gap. The defensive network struggled to compensate, but the Virexi had already launched a second wave of gravity bombs, targeting other key nodes in the system. For the first time since the conflict began, humanity's perfect defense showed signs of breaking. Dr. Nasura Okoro, lead scientist on the Quantum Shield project, had anticipated this possibility. Working from a secure laboratory beneath the lunar surface, she had been developing countermeasures for various attack scenarios. Deploy the quantum resonators, she ordered her team. Synchronize them with the shield frequencies. The resonators were experimental devices designed to stabilize quantum fields under extreme stress. As they activated, the wavering shields began to steady, their energy patterns becoming more coherent. Admiral Frost watched the tactical display with growing concern. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. If they can sustain this level of attack. Her thought was interrupted by a report from the sensor officer. Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity within the Virexi fleet. Some of their ships appear to be fighting each other. On the bridge of the inevitable victory, chaos had erupted. A faction of the Kolrathi, one of the Virexi's vassal species, had suddenly turned their weapons on their masters. What is the meaning of this? Vrex demanded, as his ship shuddered under the impact of Kolrathi weapons fire. The Kolrathi commander's face appeared on the communication screen. For too long we have served as your cannon fodder, Vrex. These humans have shown us another way. Their strength lies not in conquest, but in survival. Treachery, Vrex snarled. You will all be executed for this. But the damage was done. The coordinated attack on Earth's defenses faltered as the Virexi fleet turned to deal with the insurrection within their ranks. Watching from Aegis Prime, Captain Chen couldn't believe what she was seeing. They're fighting among themselves. But why? How? The answer came from an unexpected source. A transmission, originating from the Kolrathi flagship, was being broadcast on all frequencies. People of Earth, we have observed your defense of your world. You fight not to conquer, not to destroy, but simply to exist free from domination. This concept is revolutionary to us. The Virexi have taught us that strength comes only from domination of others. You have shown us another path. We choose to follow it. Admiral Frost ordered an immediate response. Open a channel to the Kolrathi vessel. When the connection was established, she addressed the alien commander directly. We thank you for your intervention. But be warned, this decision may cost you dearly. The Kolrathi, a reptilian species with iridescent scales and vertical pupils, inclined its head. We understand the price of freedom. Admiral, we have paid tribute to the Virexi for generations. Perhaps it is time we stood on our own. The battle in orbit turned into a chaotic melee as other vassal species began to question their loyalty. Not all joined the Kolrathi rebellion. Many remained faithful to their Virexi masters. But enough broke ranks to throw the invasion into disarray. Dr. Okoro seized the opportunity to strengthen Earth's defenses further. With the pressure temporarily reduced, she implemented a series of upgrades to the Quantum Shield network, reinforcing vulnerable nodes and improving energy distribution. The resonators are fully integrated, she reported to Admiral Frost. The network is more stable than ever. Even those gravity bombs shouldn't be able to penetrate now. Fleet Admiral Vrex was not ready to concede defeat. Despite the rebellion among his vassals, he still commanded the loyalty of the pure Virexi fleet, more than enough firepower to destroy most worlds. Prepare the Worldbreaker, he ordered. If we cannot conquer this system, we will sterilize it. The Worldbreaker was the Virexi's ultimate weapon, a massive array of graviton projectors capable of disrupting a planet's molten core, causing it to tear itself apart from within. It had been used only twice in the history of the Imperium, against species that had proven too troublesome to subjugate. As the weapon powered up, energy readings spiked across human sensor networks. Admiral Frost recognized the threat immediately. All power to the shields, she ordered. and prepare to implement Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega was humanity's last resort, a counter to the most devastating weapons in the Verexi arsenal. It involved reconfiguring the entire quantum shield network to create not just a barrier but a mirror, reflecting any attack back upon its source. The world breaker fired. A blinding beam of graviton energy lanced across space, striking Earth's quantum shields at their zenith. For a moment, it seemed the planet's defenses might fail. The shield network flared brightly, energy patterns fluctuating wildly as the system struggled to absorb the unprecedented attack. Then, slowly but steadily, the shield stabilized. The graviton beam didn't penetrate the defenses. Instead, it was caught in the quantum field, its energy contained and redirected. On Aegis Prime, Captain Chen watched in awe as the energy readings climbed higher than ever before. "The shields are holding," she reported. "They're actually getting stronger." Protocol Omega activated. The quantum network, now charged with the full power of the Worldbreaker, began to radiate outward. The energy didn't return directly to the Verexi fleet. Instead, it spread throughout the system, creating a field that made conventional weapons useless. Fighter engines stalled, warship reactors destabilized, and targeting systems failed. The Verexi fleet found itself drifting, its mighty weapons rendered impotent by the quantum field. Admiral Frost opened a channel to Fleet Admiral Frex's flagship. "Your world breaker has failed. Admiral, your fleet is disabled. We could destroy you now if we wished, but that is not our way. We offer you a choice. Leave this system in peace, or remain here powerless." On the bridge of the inevitable victory, Vrex stared at the human admiral's image with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "This is impossible. No defense can withstand the Worldbreaker." "And yet, here we are," Frost replied calmly. "We've studied your history, Admiral. You respect strength. But you've defined strength too narrowly, only as the ability to destroy. We define it as the ability to endure, to protect, to survive against all odds." For several long moments, Vrex was silent. Then, finally, he spoke. "You have won this day, human. But the Imperium will not forget this defeat." "It need not be remembered as a defeat," Frost suggested. "It could be the beginning of something new. A relationship based on mutual respect rather than domination." The Verexi admiral laughed bitterly. "You do not understand our way. The Imperium has existed for millennia based on the principle that the strong rule the weak. Perhaps it's time for that principle to evolve." Frost countered. "The strongest defense has proven more powerful than your strongest defense. What does that tell you about the nature of true strength?" In the days that followed, the disabled Verexi fleet slowly rebuilt enough power to limp away from the Sol system. They departed not as conquerors, but as the first members of their species to encounter an immovable object. The rebellion among the vassal species spread. The Kalrathi, inspired by humanity's example, declared their independence from the Verexi Imperium. Other species followed, leading to a period of upheaval throughout that sector of the galaxy. 6 months later, a single Verexi diplomatic vessel returned to Earth orbit. Its message was simple. The Imperium wished to establish formal relations with humanity, not as conquerors or vassals, but as equals, something unprecedented in their long history. Admiral Frost met with the Verexi diplomat aboard Aegis Prime. "What changed your Emperor's mind?" she asked. The diplomat, an elderly Verexi with battle scars across his scaled face, replied simply, "You did. For 10,000 years, we have believed that the strongest defense would always overcome any defense. You proved us wrong. This changes everything." Captain Chen, standing nearby, allowed herself a small smile. "We never wanted to fight you. We just wanted to live in peace." "Peace," the Verexi diplomat repeated, as if tasting an unfamiliar word. "Perhaps there is strength in that concept as well. We shall see." As the diplomatic talks continued, Earth's quantum shield network remained active, a silent reminder that in a galaxy of aggressors, humanity had found a different path, not through superior violence, but through the ultimate defense, one that could not be broken, only respected. Throughout the galaxy, word spread of the species that had stopped the unstoppable Verexi Imperium, not with battle fleets or planet killers, but with an unbreakable wall and the determination to stand their ground. In time, other species would come to Earth, not to conquer, but to learn the secret of the perfect defense. And humanity, ever adaptive, would teach them that sometimes the best defense truly is a strong defense.